Let's go check it out. Food, fun, finance. It's a lifestyle. If you're not talking about the 3 F's, then what are you talking about? Today I want to talk about the hidden advantages. So I've owned a house prior to owning the one that I own now. And if I knew what I knew then, I would have never sold my house. My house had equity in it, and I didn't know I could tap into that equity. Nobody ever explained that to me. My real estate agent didn't explain that to me. My lender didn't explain that to me. Nobody explained that to me. So I didn't have that knowledge. And at the time, I wasn't trying to seek that type of knowledge. I felt like I couldn't sustain my house. I went through a divorce. All these different things was happening all at one time. My thought process was, let me get rid of the home and, try to start over new, fresh. And Rip, the me now, would have been in that situation then, I would have never sold the house. I would have known what to do to stay in the house and to be able to maintain the house without having any issues. So that's the reason why I want to discuss that with everybody now, from my failures and how I could be able to help somebody out there who may be going through the same situation and feeling like they should sell their home just to get out of that situation, feeling like there's no other ways. There's several different ways. You don't even have to stay in the house anymore, especially if you've lived in it for a long period of time. I stayed in that house for about 5 years, and I had a lot of equity in there, and I didn't know that I could tap into it. And if I did tap into that equity, I would still have that house right now. I wouldn't be with just one property right now. So first thing you need to do is reach out to a lender. Now, all lenders are not going to be on the educational tip to just jump at you and be like, hey, this is what you can do, this is what you can do. They're not going to do that. You got to ask the questions. The questions that you want to know, they'll answer. So tell them your situation, tell them what you're trying to do, and see how you can figure out what you are trying to accomplish. So with that being said, you reach out to your lender. Say, hey, I need to remodel my home. I need to finish my basement. I need to add a garage. I need to build a tiny home on the outside of my house. I need to do all these things. Make sure you're within HOA guidelines too. So before you do that, just tell them, hey, this is what I'm trying to do. Then they're gonna be like, okay, well, you have this much equity. Well, can we pull your credit? Can we see where your credit at? So we could see how we could put you in the position to get this money out of your house, this equity that's in your house. And they're gonna pull your credit. They're gonna look at your debt to income ratio and see if you could actually do this, to see if you're capable of accomplishing what you're trying to accomplish. 9 times out of 10 you are, you just haven't asked to try to figure it out. So reach out to them. They'll give you the particular information, and then you will start the process of either doing a home equity line of credit, a HELOC, or doing a refinance and pulling out the money cash, which is, they're kind of the same, but it's whatever route you're trying to take. So there's a slight difference between a HELOC, which is a home equity line of credit, and refinancing your home and taking the equity out your home. So we're not going to discuss the details in those, but you could drop your comments and let us know if you want us to go into those in detail. It'll probably be in a later on video where we go into details about those 2 different options. The route that we went was refinancing and getting the equity out of our home. So after you've figured out, after you got with your lender and you figured out what direction you're going to go in, go ahead and start the process. Just figure out if it's meant for you, if it fits your financial situation at the time. And in my situation, I felt like it would make more sense. It would be able to make more things happen for me. And I went ahead and did that. Some people do it in the sense of trying to make more space in their house or take the money out and reinvest it in something else. Whatever you choose to do with it. You might be able to start up a business. Possibilities are endless. Depending on how much equity is in your house, you may get 10,000, you may get 20,000, you may get 100,000, especially if you've been in that house for over a certain time frame and you have never touched that equity. There will be a lot of equity available for you to use. So step 1, reach out to your lender. You get all that information from your lender, then you move on to step 2. Knowing what your credit is, because that's the first thing the lender is going to ask you. Can we run your credit? You should always be ahead of the game before you even reach out to your lender, because you don't want to be in a situation where you don't know what your credit score is and you don't know what your debt to income ratio is. They're going to tell you these things, but you want to make sure when you're approaching them that you're in a good position to be able to get accepted or be able to do what you're trying to accomplish. So step 3 would be knowing your debt to income ratio. And most times you could look that up on creditkarma.com, Credit Sesame, Experian. They have all your information combined and they'll be able to tell you these different things. Small disclaimer, those third-party platforms like Credit Karma, Credit Sesame, Experian, they may not be 100% accurate. They'll be very close, but you'll be in a better position knowing where you stand as far as being able to accomplish what you're trying to accomplish with getting the equity out your home. Step 3, one of the most important parts, shop around. Try a different lender. Don't feel like you are locked into a particular person because they were the first people to tell you yes. So if you know where you stand and you could be able to reach out to other lenders, most companies make you feel like you can't have your credit pulled so many times in 1 month or something like that, but you really can. Once you pull it the first time, that's the biggest impact. After that, it'll be like a point or two that comes off, but 9 times out of 10, it won't pull up. It won't come off because of the type of credit that you're going for. When it comes down to like mortgages and stuff like that, it really doesn't impact your credit unless it's within a certain like 90-day time frame where they're actually pulling your credit. So don't be afraid to have different lenders say, hey, well, let me know what you could do for, or you could just pull from that one lender and get your credit report from all those lenders. They'll give you the verified document saying what your credit score is, and you could send this to the other lenders so they don't have to pull your credit and be like, hey, this is an official document saying that my credit score was this on this date within the last 30 days. And that should be enough legibility, that should be enough clarity for the lending company to at least give you an estimate of what they could do for you. Because the reason why you want to go with different lenders is because you want to get the best interest rate that you can for yourself. And every lender has different possibilities. Every lender can do different things for you. So don't feel like you are tied into one lender. Go ahead and try out 2, 3, 4, however many. I would start with credit unions first. They have the most best interest rates. Then you could go outside of credit unions. Also, if you feel comfortable with going with your same lender who you bought the house with, that's fine. Maybe they could get you a real good deal because you've been doing business with them for this certain amount of time. Streamlining refinance is less time consuming versus going with another company, because sometimes when you go with the other companies, you got to give them all the paperwork that you gave your first mortgage company in the beginning, and that's a lot. Back taxes, tax documents, W-2s, paycheck stubs, all these different things you're gonna have to provide for them. Versus a streamlined refinance, you won't have to provide that much because they already have your information. They already done business with you. They already know who you are. They already know that you're going to pay your bills on time. So it's going to be a quicker process. So when they present it, it's boom, like we've already done business with him. We've done good business, and I think we should continue doing it. Step 4, now that you've made the decision that you're going to go with this lender or whoever you decide to go with, whatever way that you're going to get your line of equity out of your home, then we need to hurry up and get the process going, because time is money, man. You want to make sure that you take every necessary step to make sure they have all the proper documentation so there will be no speed bumps in the road. Just make sure you have everything as adequately and as quickly as possible to them so you could get your home equity money out quicker. Now that you have done your due diligence and you have determined that you want to proceed in getting this equity out your home, and you have chosen the path that you want to do it in, you need to make sure you have the proper documentation ready so you would be able to give your documents to them as quick as possible, so this process will not be a long and drawn out process. You You want to make sure you have everything that they ask for ready to go. And you want to make sure that everything that you give them, they won't be telling you, well, I need this and I need that. You want to make sure everything to the T. If they ask for 3 months of your bank statements, make sure you give them 3 months of your bank statements. Whatever they ask for, make sure you're giving it to them, like, to the T. The quicker you get your documents in, the quicker you can lock your interest rate in. And you want to lock your interest rate in as quick as possible because the housing market fluctuates a lot. So you don't want to lose that interest rate, especially now what's going on with the economy and what's going on with the world. You want to be able to lock in a good interest rate. Right now, interest rates are going back up. So even though it's going back up, you have to understand that prior to this, our interest rates normal level was at 10%. Right now, we're like 5%, which is still good, which you should still try to get in and lock in a 5% versus a 10%. So do so. Make sure you get in there as quickly as possible. So the paperwork's in, make sure everything is done. The quicker you get all of this done, the quicker they get to closing, the quicker they get to the end of the process, however, whichever route you take, and the quicker you get that check. Point blank, period. Move quickly. So whatever process you decide to go through is gonna be a process. It's gonna have paperwork, so be prepared to sign some paperwork. Be prepared to know that if you go through the route as far as refinancing and getting the equity out like that, it will be the same process as far as closing a home. They've actually sped it up and made it more convenient ever since COVID. So thank the Lord that they've done that. And it's a whole lot more convenient. A lawyer can come out to your house and you can sign the documents at your house. You don't have to go to this building way in 2 counties away. You don't got to do none of that. Lawyers will come out to your house and they will sign the documentations with you and the deal will be done and over. Just make sure you have everything on your behalf so everything could go through smoothly. And make sure you stay on top of these lenders and these lawyers because sometimes they don't communicate too well. I think on one of my situations, the lawyer didn't know what time to come and it was a miscommunication. So sometimes you got to bridge that gap. So be the type of person that's going to work to make sure your deal goes through smooth and successful because everybody else is just getting paid for doing what they do. Sometimes you have to bridge the gap. So you have signed all your documentation. It is a celebration. The lawyer has left your house and the documents are signed. Usually it takes anywhere between 15 to 30 days before the check comes, but as long as all the paperwork, and that's the most important part, make sure you pay attention to the paperwork. Make sure everything that's on the paperwork is documented the way that you agreed between you and the lender, because there may be certain things in the documentation that wasn't different. I mean, that was different to what you seen than what the lender gave you, because it was a couple of documents that we overviewed and everything wasn't exactly what they said. So we had to get that fixed. That may slow up the process, but you don't want to be in a position where you don't like what's going on later on down the road. So make sure that the lender sends you the documentation before the lawyer even gets to your house, so you don't have to go through that type of situation. But the papers are now signed. 15 to 30 days, you get your check. Step 5. We are now at step 5. Documents are signed, celebration, bottles popping, all that good stuff. Don't get caught up with how much money you got in your bank account. So depending on how long you've been in your house will depend on how much equity you can get back. Anywhere from $5,000 all the way to $150,000. It is 80% of the value of your house, right? Don't quote me on that yet. We will put the actual percentage down here to let you know how much you may be eligible to get back at the maximum. So depending on how much equity you have in your house, you will be eligible for, at the maximum, 80% of whatever equity is in there. They're not gonna give you all the equity. That's not gonna happen. So don't think that if your house is valued at $400,000 and you bought it for $300,000, don't think that they're gonna give you $100,000. It's not possible. It's gonna be 80% of whatever the equity is. So with that being said, if you get like an $80,000 check and you see that, make sure you're doing what you're supposed to be doing with it. This goes back to first thing on your list, knowing what you're going to do with your equity. I can't tell anybody out there what to do. I'm not a financial advisor, disclaimer, I'm not a financial advisor at all, but I know what I've done with my equity in my home, and I know my plans on future properties and what I'm going to do with my equity. It's a process called BERT. You can look it up. We'll have a video separately on that, but that's just to fill you in on what I'm going to do with my equity. Please don't go out there and blow your check, man. Don't get $80,000 and thinking that you're gonna go get the new Corvette and thinking that everything is gonna be cool. That's all nice. And like I said, I'm not a financial advisor. I just want to make sure everybody that I know in my community is doing the right thing with the money that they can get out of their home. So you've got the money. You got the money. Just do the right thing with the money. That's the end of it. You already know what your plan is from step one, and make sure you execute that plan with whatever you decide to do with that money. Start a business, remodel your home, anything, whatever you're trying to do with that, make sure you accomplish it. Make sure you stay consistent. Food Fun Finance, we are out.